All right, friends, India's Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal AP Singh, has carried out another round of air strikes deep inside Pakistan with that revelation, actually not a revelation, but underscoring of the kind of damage that Indian armed forces, including Air Force, of course, carried out, inflicted on Pakistan during those 4 days of Operation Sindoor. And for the first time, with a very comprehensive detail, the Air Chief has spoken about the kind of assets of Pakistan Air Force that were taken down, including 5 of their aircrafts and possibly one air warning, early warning radar system. So I think this is a time to really go deeper into the kind of damage that Operation Sindoor inflicted on Pakistan, understand its military ramifications, or of course larger geostrategic ramifications. And to understand that, we have with us Air Marshal RGK Kapoor, or Ravi Gopal Krishna Kapoor. He's someone who has been Assistant Chief of Air Staff. He's someone who has commanded the Central Air Command, and he was AOC-in-C of the Central Air Command. And he has very recently retired. In fact, he was effectively handling the operations and, of course, the communication aspect during the Balakot operation of the Indian Air Force. Remember, post-Pulwama, the way we hit Balakot and took down many terrorists there. Welcome, Air Marshal Kapoor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you. It is great.
And thanks for having this conversation. I hope I got the introduction right, and that really gives our viewers an idea of the depth of understanding that you bring to this conversation. Air Marshal Kapoor, if I could begin by asking why it took so long for India to really make this clear, the kind of damages we have inflicted on Pakistan, or the kind of clarity with which Air Chief has spoken. It was sort of missing earlier.
I think there are 2 aspects. One is it has been reiterated time and again by the Air Force that, we have caused damage. We have shot down some Pakistani aeroplanes. However, it takes a little time to kind of go through the digital prints, go through all the kind of data that is collected at various sources, various weapon systems, and then put it all together in a single frame, and then come to a conclusion as to what is it. Because if we see, whenever somebody has spoken, there has always been a question mark as to how do you say this is the number. And so I think Indian Air Force has taken a very deliberate stand to go through all the details, and especially, S-400 systems, the fighter aircraft which were involved, the IACCS pictures, those were there, the videos that were there, and then put it all together to find out as to how does it take place. If I can take you back to Balakot, that time we conducted a press brief, and all of you were there. And when I was briefing, I was trying to tell you all how a blip appears on a radar screen, and then once a
Yes,
weapon
I
is
remember
fired,
that,
and how
sir.
does the blip go off. And so the same thing would have been done now. The second part is that an opportune moment also is important. It is not that the
Right.
air chief would go and conduct a press conference to just say that we have shot down 5 fighters and probably 1 AEW&C or an Alien aircraft. So I think it is timing which is very, very important. It should not, I don't think we should take it kind of that why is it taken 3 months. It is I think an opportune time, a place where he found an opportunity to express himself in the circumstances which were which met the occasion and sent the right.
Right. And I fully appreciate, and everyone would appreciate, the fact that the Air Force did due diligence, and meticulous collation of data and evidence went into the kind of announcement or claim that the Air Chief has made. About the timing, Marshal Kapoor, if I could just delve a little deeper on this. We have had a lot of politics on the domestic front that has happened in the last 2 months about Pakistani claims vis-a-vis Indian ambiguity. And then we have the likes of Donald Trump mentioning, planes were shot down. He was obviously taking the side of Pakistan. I would still want to pursue. You think this could have come little earlier?
Yes, perhaps it could have come a little earlier. But like I said earlier, that it is very, very important to do due diligence, and because everything is up for scrutiny. And you see, the moment the chief has said whatever he said yesterday, immediately there's been a response from the Pakistani side that it is politically motivated and all. I think what the air chief has done is he has put to rest all the doubts that people had, that various sections of society had. I mean, I'm not going to go into any
Right.
one particular society. It is across the spectrum, whether it is within India or outside India. We found that there is a
Yeah.
lot of Western media which spoke about why India lost so many aeroplanes, or so many aeroplanes were lost, or things like that. Why didn't they focus on what India did to Pakistan? Where is the evidence? The fact is that we have always been pushed to the one side of the spectrum, where the question is how do we prove it? The same question was there in,
Right.
and so the same question will always be there. So the answer is,
I mean, I think the air chief spoke. I think air chief spoke eloquently, and with a lot of pain when he said that it's unfortunate that we have not been able to convince a set of people in the country. I think essentially what you are saying. In fact, I like the podcast that we are doing. There was another podcast from the Pakistani side. A lot of people would have watched. I had watched it, where Air Marshal Masood Akhtar of the Pakistan Air Force is saying that the Pakistanis were really scared that all these BrahMos are falling on their bases. He mentions how the PAF pilots, fighter pilots, scurried to secure their planes when these BrahMos missiles came shooting down. And he said that unfortunately for them, one missile hit one of the hangars at the Bolari Air Base, where one of our AWACS were parked, which was destroyed, and there were some casualties also. So, I mean, you think it's really unfortunate that people were not believing this and still trying to, embarrass us, our forces, in front of the rest of the world, despite all this evidence in the air, so to say?
see, I always believe that proof of pudding is in eating, and the fact is that the satellite imagery, the video imagery of the drones, and whatever, and in fact, so much of social media imagery and videos that were posted from Pakistan has given ample proof
Yeah.
that what India did and what India achieved in less than 48 hours, if we just see
Yeah.
ninth and 10th, in less than 48 hours, is destroying almost 20% of Pakistan Air Force. And that is the proof of the pudding. The question is, how many aeroplanes were lost by us or by them? Now, if we want to do a bean count, then those issues can be settled separately. But it is important to understand what is the mission. The mission was to teach Pakistan a lesson, to escalate it at the rate at which we wanted to ensure that we controlled the escalation, to ensure that we controlled the entire dynamics of the air war that was going on, to ensure that Pakistan Air Force was effectively irrelevant in the fight, because it was predominantly an air war. And in an air war, it is what offensive weapons can you put onto the other side. So if we just see what kind of offensive weapons could Pakistan put onto Indian side, it is nothing, negligible. So that
Sir,
that is
I mean, I just want to catch that conversation where you just mentioned that you effectively decimated about 20% or one-fifth of the Pakistan Air
yes.
Force.
So if you see, I'll just go by. If you see the number of radars we destroyed, the number of air defense systems that we destroyed, the number of, if I say one AEW&C was shot down by S-400 in the air, and when we hit Bolari, you see, Bolari was an excellent example of what is situational awareness, technical intelligence, and how dynamic targeting can be done. Everything fell in place. The AWC had just landed there. It has taxied into the hangar, and that is when the strike goes.
Oh,
And so, if the strike goes at that time, it shows a huge degree of coordination between diverse agencies which are orchestrating an air fight. And now, when this hangar is hit, there is in Bhulari is also F-16 base. So an AEWC and probably some F-16s also would have been damaged. And so if you see, they've got 9 to 11 AEWCs. Two of them are gone. That is 20% of their command and control, airborne command and control, which they
right.
irreplaceable for them. They can't go around buying it from Sweden anymore. And similarly, hitting the command and control center at Noor Khan and at I think Murid is another thing. So it is 20% is a huge damage if we consider just about say 36 hours or so. Uh, um, Sorry,
Right.
48 to 72 hours. And
Yeah, you also said, sir, that we effectively made Pakistan Air Force
yes.
ineffective. Now, that and you explain why, because in terms of numbers, in terms of their assets, the kind of destruction of their assets that has happened, obviously that much of their capacity to fly and that much of their capacity to use their air bases stood debilitated. That's where this very titillating question comes in, which I think Air Force Chief also sort of alluded to. that इतना किया था और थोड़ा कर देते और 2 दिन कर देते.
See,
I mean, as an air warrior, you think that there would have been that itch. Let's do it.
all of us, who join Air Force and who are into combat aviation, this is a kind of a dream that, you get a chance. It's a once in a lifetime chance to be in actual operations. You keep firing weapons on a air to ground range or an air to air range, but that's a very controlled environment. Things are not shooting around you. And so this is something, and when you are on the up, you want to press home the advantage. But what I want to tell you is, just before I go into the other part of this question that you have asked, first is I would like to give a little explanation into why Pakistan Air Force was rendered ineffective. It was not only because
Sure, sir.
we offensively hit their air bases or their air defense systems or their command and control center. What is most important is any air force, for it to be effective, has to be able to put bombs on target. Pakistan Air Force could
Yeah.
not put one bomb on target. Why was it? It was there were basic reason is or offensive air defense. So we actually epitomized what we call it was called a anti-access area denial strategy. That means we denied that entire airspace to Pakistan Air Force to effectively do any kind of offensive mission, and that is why they were ineffective. So what they did was they were defending against whatever we were doing. And they could not even defend because of the weapons and the ranges that we had. So when we used BrahMos, which goes at more than 3 Mach, it does not take any time, and its radar cross section is so little that a radar cannot pick it up in the head-on mode when it is coming to hit you. And so these
Yeah.
are the basic things why Pakistan Air Force was rendered completely ineffective.
Yeah. I mean, I believe you are also talking about the seed and dead operations, as they are called, suppression of enemy air defense and the destruction of enemy air defense, I think, which played a considerable role in making sure that the Pakistanis could not respond to India's offense. But my question is, again, if we had that kind of domination, what exactly you think would have made us decide, okay, fine, this far, no further, let's stop here? Is it because the Pakistanis came crying uncle? Or is it because we thought that, okay, fine, we have sent across a message? Was it this some kind of large-heartedness, or was it absolutely clear, cold calculation that, okay, fine, this is a proportionate response, let's stop here?
I think it was a combination of a lot of factors. One is that we did not want escalation beyond a particular level. We did not want an all-out war where Pakistan comes out with everything. And having achieved the objective, the primary objective of this entire Op Sindoor was counter-terrorism. It was not a
Yeah.
complete conventional war. So if it was a counter-terrorism operation, then we did the counter-terrorism operation. And if we see what the air chief said, that our DGMO called up the DGMO of Pakistan and said that this is what we have done.
Yeah.
And thereafter, our responses were constantly in response to what Pakistan was doing. We were not, while we were proactive in terms of choosing the targets and causing the damage, we were reactive in terms of responding to a Pakistani attack. So when they did drones, we went a step further and we escalated it kind of in terms of the degree of attack or the depth of attack or the quantum of attack. And so I think it is not such a military decision as much as a political decision to say when
Right.
to stop and when not to stop. It is I think just
Right.
to say that two DGMOs would agree and say that okay we will have a cessation of operations. I don't think that is true. It is these decisions would not get taken at DGMO level. They would certainly go up.
So you think India was addressing an international audience by taking that call?
Uh, See, whenever there is a conflict, the international community always gets involved. Everybody is concerned as to what is the kind of conflagration it is going to cause, what is the kind of escalation it's going to have, and finally, what is the impact it will have. So, all these factors would have certainly played some kind of a role in the entire situation. But at the end of the day, I think
Right.
it is the political leadership of the nation which would take the call to decide as to what extent do we want to go. While there are a lot of people who would say that yes, we could have gone further, we could have done a little more damage, but that what is the little more damage and what is how to define it, how to quantify it, and that quantification
Yeah.
at that point of time in a in a in a conflict which is escalating at a particular pace is a little difficult question.
Right.
And so I think the kind of damage that has been caused to Pakistan was sufficient enough to ensure that yes, it will. While I am very sure, Pakistan, it is not the end of a terror attack from Pakistan.
Right, obviously. And I believe we have sent a strong message with the kind of escalation that we have carried out between Balakot and Operation Sindoor. In fact, since you were part of the operations during Balakot, Air Marshal Kapoor, what I want to know is you just mentioned that at the Bolari base, we perhaps took down some F-16s. At the time of Balakot, I remember, and from your briefing, that we had taken down one F-16, American F-16, which the Americans continued to deny, and I think they continue to deny till now. You think the Americans are little annoyed, for want of better word, at the manner in which Indian Air Force has really taken down their assets effectively in Pakistan Air Force custody, and that's why we are seeing the kind of position that America is taking of late?
Um, I would not feel so. Primarily because of the fact that most of the aircraft, if I do my assessment, personal assessment of the five aircraft that have been shot down, five fighters, in my opinion, these are all the fighters which tried to undertake bombing mission, that is the standoff weapon release against Indian Air Force targets, and they were intercepted by our surface to air S-400 system. And so these aircraft are primarily the Mirage series, the Mirage 3.5, and the JF-17, the Chinese fighter aircraft. F-16s normally are not used by Pakistan Air Force in the air-to-ground role or the strike role because they do not have, the Americans have not given them the long-range air-to-surface weapons. So I do not see
Okay.
that a F-16 has been shot down. Similarly, so if an F-16 has been hit or damaged, it is in an air-to-ground attack, and that air-to-ground attack was not against kind of if US says
Yeah, I mean, we did not. I understand your drift. You are saying that we did not deliberately target at Bolari. If there were some F-16s in the hangar, might we don't know. But during Balakot, you mentioned that we did take down one
yes.
F-16.
So in that F-16 was taken down during Balakot in a close combat fight because they were firing at us and we were firing at them, and so in that kind of a thing, when you get into a air-to-air combat, anybody could fire at anybody. So my question is always that why do Americans allow F-16s to be used against India if India is a major defense partner of America? So America has to
Yeah.
take a call on what kind of relationship it wants to have with India. It has to kind of address these issues. If its aeroplanes are going to be used against India, India will have to fight, and if it involves taking down a F-16, so be it. And so, but in any
Yeah.
case, I don't think President Trump is too much, concerned about some F-16s getting damaged. I think his bigger concern is that he has lacked acknowledgement from India that he was the one who was instrumental in the cessation of operations. I think that is more of a
Yeah, I mean, let's take this question. Actually, you have Marshal Kapoor. You have just retired, but you still have friends in the Air Force. In fact, I believe you succeeded the present chief as the head of the AOC&C of the Central Command. Your successor is still there in the service, Air Marshal
Dixit.
Ashutosh, I believe Dikshit. So I think you would have your own understanding of what brought the end or cessation of hostilities, as it is called. Was it American intervention, or is it because the Pakistanis realized that if it escalates from here on, they are done to death?
I think Pakistanis realized that the kind of initially see when they initially did not accept our proposal that let us finish after the attacks of 7th. They thought that they have the capability to take on the air force, to take on Indian military, and cause some damage, which will give them a notion of victory. That is the basic thing. See, even in Balakot, it was kind of, how is notion of victory seen? Similarly, here in this case, they realize the rate at which is, if you see, just one night we attacked 9 or 10 of their bases. If we could do it in few minutes, less than an hour, simultaneously attacking
Yeah.
across 1500 kilometers of the border between India and Pakistan, then what would happen if we continued at the same rate? And what we were conveying is we were actually signaling. We were actually still not hitting their the most sensitive areas. In Sargoda, we could have hit a very, very sensitive area. But what we chose to hit the runway and the runway intersection.
Are you again hinting at the Kirana Hills
No,
in
no, no. I'm
Sargoda?
not hinting at Kirana Hills at all, because I don't think personally I have nothing to hide or anything. I personally do my assessment, and I'm very clear that India would not, in this kind of conflict that we were in, would not target Kirana Hills. would not target any.
Then what was the more sensitive part of Sargodha?
Most sensitive part of Sargodha is its command and control center. They have their air defense center in Sargodha. They have their huge weapon storage in Sargodha. They have their combat commander school in Sargodha, which is their seat of air combat power. The number of important installation in Sargodha runs into multiple pages, and if you go hammer and tongs, if you annihilate Sargodha, Pakistan Air Force is half written off. Same thing is with Rafiki. And so, what we did in Noor Khan also was we could have targeted all their air-to-air refuelers which are parked there, C-130s parked there, and so we did not.
Like they were in sight?
Pardon?
They were in sight, like we could see them and we could target them
It is
like
not
if we
like
wanted
that.
to?
See, when we fire the weapons that we are firing, they are against a predetermined target. And so, if there is a clear intelligence that there is something here and this can be targeted, and that is called dynamic targeting. And so, under the dynamic targeting, if we get a satellite picture that says that at this point in time it is there, or a RPA picture, a drone picture, video, then we can go and target them. But on a
Right.
previously available intelligence, you target generally the fixed assets or the important which are
Right.
kind of their head or the brain, the hands and the legs.
Right. In fact, Air Chief in the same address also said that the moment from the time that we get commissioned to the time we retire, it's a dream, it's a fantasy that we will go after Sargodha. Is it because of these things that you mentioned that he said everyone in the Air Force, Indian Air Force, has a dream of going to Sargodha?
Absolutely. Like I told you, Sargodha, is their most important base. Um, they actually hold it like their crown jewel. And so if we hit it hard, then it actually affects the psyche of Pakistan Air Force. And so there are very few bases like this. Sargodha is one, Rafiki is one, then Murid is there. Then if you go south is Karachi and that area. So these are their kind of most important bases. Rest of the bases,
Is it also?
uh, yeah,
Yeah,
so
please go ahead.
what happens is a fighter pilot's dream is what? A fighter pilot's dream is always that you get a chance to fly an operational mission, or you lead a team which is going to kind of get you a result which is once in lifetime and which will be remembered or written in the history books. And this is something that is there. These chances.
Also, in the case of Sargodha, it goes back to 1965, that very famous dogfight in which you took down. At that time, still, with our old World War II vintage fighter planes, you took down those American star fighters. You think the Pakistanis are a little? It's a raw nerve there with the Pakistanis going to Sargodha by Indian Air Force. That's why the Air Chief mentioned it.
I think that would be taking it too far, but Sargodha, like I said, is an extremely important base for them. It is their nuclear facility. They have their nuclear weapons there. They have their major command and control. The entire central um, command air defense is controlled from there, and they have.
So basically, what you're saying is, since it's such an important place and their nuclear command control, their nuclear weapons are there, by just targeting the airstrip, I think in Sargodha, we just sort of sent a message that, okay, fine, you are that close in terms of us targeting them.
Absolutely. It is a clear message that if I have a weapon which can hit your intersection of your runway, then I can hit anything that is there on that base. And I can hit it with any number of times and you can do nothing about it. And that is what the fear was.
Right.
And that is what brought them to the table to say that yes, Because they initially they did not understand the gravity or the kind of firepower that Indian Air Force could unleash on them. I think they underestimated. Pakistanis have generally underestimated Indians. They underestimated, and so this time I think it was a mixture of political will and the military, the free hand which military got to carry out attacks. So the missions were planned by the military, which is the and the military knows where to hit and where the effect is. Today's missions are not to are there to create an effect. So if I render the runway unserviceable, if I hit the command and control, then the entire air operations get affected. It stops
Yeah.
there.
I mean, yeah, sure. I was actually coming to this question, and you have led me there, sir, which is that we have post Operation Sindoor, and people say it's still on. We have had the CDS, the Chief of Defence Staff, we have had the Chief of Air Staff yesterday, and today even the Chief of Army Staff, talk about how Operation Sindoor has been very different from earlier missions or operations or even wars that India has fought. Just for the benefit of lay viewers, is it because of the jointness with which the three services came together or took the jointness to the next level? Is it because of the technology component that this war was very different?
I think both are equally important. The leadership with the clear direction is the most important thing, and the technology to execute the objective or achieve the objective is the next important part. In the earlier occasions, if you see Balakot, we did not have such long range weapons. We had to cross, we had to fly into Pakistan airspace to deliver the spice. But we understood at that point in time that the wars are not going to be fought like this anymore. There is going to be no close contact. Today's wars are kind of who sees first, who sees farthest, and who shoots first, and who shoots farthest. So when we talk of technology, technology is not only an enabler, it is also going to be helping you execute. So in terms of technology, it has to match up with the kind of the platforms we have and the equipment we have and the weapons we have. So everything has to match up. You can have a very good aeroplane, but if you don't have the matching weapon, then it is of no use. You will not be able to deliver it to that distance that you want. And
So
so the technology played an important role in terms of we could network it way better this time. Akash Tir and the integrated air command and control system. That means they were able to integrate both the army and the air force air defense completely and show it as a single picture. So what does it do? It it frees up lot of resources which were earlier duplicated. So same,
so
yeah,
you seem sorry to be interjecting. You seem to be suggesting, and we are sort of winding down toward the end of this conversation. You seem to be suggesting that from Balakot, which was just in 2019 when you had to actually take your fighter plane inside to drop the missile, to now when you have this standoff weapons capability, the things have changed in the last 5 years alone.
absolutely. In when we did Balakot, we did not have this coordination between Army and Air Force, Air Defense. What we have today, Akash Tir has come up in the last about a year or so. And similarly, these weapons, what we call the Scalp, which came with Rafale, BrahMos, which has been integrated with Su-30, Rampage and Crystal Maze 2, again with the Su-30. These weapons have come after Balakot. They were not there during Balakot. And as far as the jointness is concerned, I think it is very, very important to synergize everything. We cannot fight separately anymore. In today's battlefield environment, we will never have the kind of budgets that we want. We'll never have the kind of resources that we want. So, whatever resources are there, they have to be put to the best use and the most efficient use. And that can only be achieved by jointness. And this jointness, I think, a large amount of credit I would believe must go to the CDS because he has been able to get all three services together to synergize.
Yeah.
And earlier, what we used to do were we used to make our own plans and try and join them at certain point in time. Today, we are planning together. So if you see on seventh morning, when we address the 9 terrorist camps and the headquarters simultaneously, could it have been done if it was not a single plan? It had to be a single plan. That means everything is hitting at the same time. That means what time, and everything is flying at a different speed, at a different height, in a different pattern. And so every to synchronize everything, there has to be a single plan. And that plan is what is jointness that we have seen today. And the other part of technology is what we are seeing. And what you will see in the next 2 to 5 years is going to be an exponential increase of the same.
I would really want to have a separate conversation on how things go from here, Marshal Kapoor. But just to wrap up the conversation, with all the things that you were talking about, the changes that have taken place between Balakot and Operation Sindoor, and the jointness and the coming together of technology and the philosophy of war insofar as India's posturing is concerned, you think that this mistake that the Pakistanis made of underestimating India and its military power, they would never make it again?
That's a very, very, important question. And that is the question that has always been there on the military leader's mind all the time. But if we see our history from 1947 till now, there have been very few pauses. There have been very few, instances where things were in good state. I do not see it happening. Presently, when we see General Munir, who's become the Field Marshal, a de facto chief, I mean, de facto leader of Pakistan, I do not see these
Yeah.
things changing. Pakistan trying to acquire J-35 from China, its relationship with Turkey only deepening. It is trying to get into a kind of partnership with Turkey for their fifth generation aircraft Khan. The kind of help it is receiving from Turkey and China in terms of drone technology is and I'm telling you, Abhishek, this war, drones were very, very basic. This was not even a drone war. So let us not, lull ourselves into complacency that this was a drone war. This was not a drone war. These are very, very basic drones. Very few were there which were armed or anything. Rest were, or most of them were kind of commercial off-the-shelf drones just to saturate our air defenses. And so with the kind of, and Pakistan is one country. Till the time military leadership remains at the helm of affairs in that country, they
Yeah.
would come back at us in some form of the other. And so I think both are neighbors. We should be completely ready. And that's why I say Op Sindoor is 24/7, 365 days. Next time it happens, we should hit within 24 hours. And that is the complete, kind of how do we assess our intelligence? A measure of our level of intelligence. And so I
Right.
do not see Pakistan not coming back.
Absolutely. And I think this is a good note to sign off and end this conversation, Air Marshal RGK Kapoor. But the fact of the matter is that we have to continue our conversation like Operation Sindoor and maybe on to how India needs to be, upping up its game to make sure that we are always notches above and steps ahead of our enemies. Thank you so much for having this conversation with us. That was Air Marshal RGK Kapoor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on the show.